Not me, a whole bottle of Oracle juice down, trying not to look too goofy in the thumbnail. Anyway, so now that there's that short video of me talking about me and apparently the season of Expedition, let's get into these cards. So, like I said, I guess if you didn't watch that too, I might just delete it because I didn't really talk about anything. Um, I got the Mythical Creatures Oracle cards at the card store yesterday. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to read the book. The book is very informative, it's very educational, it's kind of dry, but we'll do it. So I'll pull one of these and I'll clarify with the SKT Vitruvian edition if you're curious. And let's get right into it. We'll just pull a few of these. We'll do a few of these. I might do like 2 clarifiers or however many come out. Okay. If you're concerned about me, you don't have to. And I feel like because I had this conversation in my head. I'm like, I feel like I've been like drinking Oracle juice and going live a lot lately. It's just because I have it, and because I don't know. It me from reality, from my body, and gets me closer to spirit. But also like not like spirits. You know what I mean? Alright. I'll give it 3, and then I'll do the top and bottom. There was an interesting play. I've used these before, like once. And there was an interesting play between the card that came out. Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh. I was literally just talking about you. I'm not gonna take these. But there was an interesting play between a card that came out and the card that was at the bottom of the deck. Because the card that came out mentioned a specific type of animal, and the card that was at the bottom of the deck was that specific type of animal. So I was like, oh, interesting how, and it gave it like so much context because without that context, it was just like, okay. All right. We'll give it 3 more, 2 more, 1 more, and top of the deck is Pegasus. Is that the Parthenon? I think it is the Parthenon. Right? The Parthenon was the building in Greece. Right? Was it a temple of Athena? I don't remember. I mean, I think it was in Athens, so that's why I'm like, was it a temple of Athena? Parthenon, Nashville? No, we're not talking about Nashville. Girl, what was the Parthenon famous for? The Parthenon is a temple dedicated to Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, and it stands as a monument to democracy that has withstood the trials and tribulations of history. Okay. Because I was also thinking like the Acropolis. And I was like, I don't think that's the Parthenon. The Parthenon is right here. Pegasus is outside. Is it leaving? Well, I mean, obviously, because it's not like positioned the other way to suggest that it's arriving to the Parthenon. Pegasus is a horse on wings. And the horse on wings for me, horses can symbolize movement, mobility, freedom. But it's almost like when there's a land-bound freedom, there are things that still present a barrier, right? Like a horse can't gallop across. Hey, Holly, how you doing? A horse can't gallop across a chasm. It'll fall. But this horse has wings. So it's an extension of that energy. It opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Bottom of the deck is the Myrmecolium, which is an ant lion, a lion ant. This card was actually under the card at the bottom of the deck, or I think this card was, yeah, this card was the bottom of the deck because two cards fell out. Speaking of a land bound sort of energy, but also there's the thunder up above and the Eight of Wands and the vice versa tarot. There's on the back, there's a Pegasus with bolts of lightning. And it's this energy of it being like a divine justice that's going to be carried out. So it's interesting that the lightning is there, but the Pegasus is over here in the daytime sky. So let's see. Busy day, glad to be home with your socks off. Yeah, I feel like this week has been full of busy days or eventful days. This week has been full of eventful days. Good events, great events. Glad they're happening events, but thank you. You could probably tell that I got them retwisted today. Um, because I'll probably have to take a photo for a badge or something. Um, and it was time. The erudite and the erudite and the ace of swords. The hermit and the ace of swords, the erudite and sacred cinnabar come out to clarify the Pegasus. Bottom of the deck is the shining quarry. All of the knights in this deck are Pegasi. Wild and fertile land. And then I'm going to move these here. For the Myrmecolian, let's see. The politic, Three of Wands, Sun and Aries. And thank you. Me too. I might switch it up next time. Like, I don't mind the braids, but the braids are a lot tighter than the twists. So I'm like, woo. There is another style that I want to try. But I will. It's actually a style I've been wanting to try for a while, but I'll wait until next time to do that. Interesting. Bottom of the deck is the Memory Keeper, Six of Cups. It's interesting because the Three of Cups fell out on the other side of this Three of Wands. Three of Wands is the three masculines. Three of Cups are the three feminines coming together. Now begins the long, dull. Maybe they'll be exciting. I'll read Pegasus first. Oh, there we go. Pegasus keywords are triumph, ascension, freedom, liberation, friends, allies, sidekick, assistance, worthy cause, heroism, virtuous battle, earned reward, and attainment of goals. Mythological background: the marvelous flying stallion was sired by Poseidon, Greek god of the sea and travel. Pegasus's mother was Medusa. Bunny sit. Oh, I'm glad you get to do that. This is interesting. There's already an energy here of a right being wronged. A wrong? There's an energy of a wrong being righted. There's an energy of a right being wronged, of a wrong being righted. Okay. Pegasus's mother was Medusa, but he was not born in the natural way. He came into the world by springing forth from her blood after she was slain by the hero Perseus. Pegasus was born fully grown and sporting a pair of magnificent wings. He flew to the mystical Mount Helicon, home of the divine nymphs known as the Muses. On this mountain, he stamped his hoof on the ground, magically producing a flowing spring. This spring became known as Hippocrene and is the source of poetic inspiration. Later, Pegasus was tamed by Athena, the goddess of war and wisdom. Eventually, the young hero Bellerophon prayed to Athena for assistance in defeating the dreaded Chimera. The goddess bestowed him with the mystical golden bridle with which he was able to harness the flying horse. After obtaining Pegasus, Bellerophon went on to slay the Chimera and pursue other acts of heroism. Unfortunately, Bellerophon's success went to his head and his ego got the better of him. He attempted to fly Pegasus all the way to the top of Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. Zeus, the king of the gods, was angered and sent a fly to bite the horse, which caused the horse to throw Bellerophon off his back. Zeus then took Pegasus in and used him to pull his chariot through the sky. The card meaning, I won't read the inverse, but it's like 3 paragraphs. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. Brace yourself. This fantastical horse is the steed of the gods and the helpful companion to heroes. He will aid the most deserving individuals on the most important of quests. Indeed, it is time to celebrate if Pegasus has come into your life. It indicates that you have made a significant accomplishment and the gods have noticed. Someone has decided that your mission is a worthy cause and your success warrants praise. With the aid of Pegasus, you may complete your most daunting of tasks and soon take on an even bigger battle. Keep up the great work, and Pegasus can take you higher. To fly on the back of Pegasus is to experience a new level of freedom. Your hard work has given you perspectives and knowledge that allow you to see and do what had not been accessible to you before. Pegasus is a gift. He has come as a result of your genuine effort. He is the new strength that you have gained. You are a triumphant warrior, and you are now better equipped for your next battle. Use this newfound freedom to push the boundaries even further. The arrival of Pegasus into your life signifies that you have true friends and allies. They will answer your calls and come to your aid when you need it. These friends can help you in a number of ways. You may have known them for a long time, and they may be cheering you on. Alternatively, they may be helpers from behind the scenes, preferring to remain anonymous, which is interesting because somebody got an anonymous package today. A very kind, very heartfelt, extremely anonymous package. They could be forces from beyond the mortal realm, altering your fate in auspicious ways. Your friend could be a coworker, teammate, or family member. They could be a most inseparable partner or someone you rarely see, but who is there to help. Friends like these are a godsend. Someone else may be serving this role for you, or depending on the question you asked, you may be fulfilling this role for them. Always remember what you did to earn Pegasus's aid. It was not mere coincidence or dumb luck. Pegasus came to you specifically because of something you did and because of a worthy cause you were fighting for. Never take for granted the privilege that you earned. If you forsake the cause, then Pegasus will leave you, perhaps catastrophically. Your friends adore you for the sincere person they know you to be, and not the ego driven narcissist that you could hypothetically become. Hold them dear and let them know that you cherish them. Remain genuine, and they will stay by your side. Now, there's a lot of talk of like, you deserve this, you earn this. There's something auspicious about well, there's something auspicious that will happen because of what it is that you work towards. And again, that came out clarified by the erudite, which is the hermit. It has lux ex tenebris, light from darkness, as well as Lucio non uro. And I don't know what that means. Where you I also may be. Where I am, you also may be, is in the book. So there is again that energy of this going with you or traveling with you. Um, and then the sacred cinnabar is here, Ace of Swords, the consummating. I usually look at where the crown is relative to the hilt with the Ace of Swords because this is where we hold the sword. So the crown is pretty close. Um, and there's also a shield on this Ace of Swords. The sword is like offense, the shield is defense, right? The crown is, it feels like the crown is an ability to discern. I don't know. There's also this message of like be mindful that your head doesn't inflate and that your ego doesn't sort of take over because I guess the Pegasus isn't here to inflate egos or to exert or exalt one above others. Pegasus is here again as a reward and as an encouragement, as assistance to continue along a certain path. I kind of like how I read it at first. Where you are, I also may be. Light from darkness, but there's a little bit of like being a light in the darkness energy with this hermit. And it's like because you are a light in the darkness, then you'll be taken care of in certain aspects, and Pegasus is there to help you shine. Um, Also, the sword and the shield can be tools of a hero, right? And so there may be like many divine blessings sort of bestowed upon you. Now, the Myrmecolian, I don't know how to pronounce. I've never heard of this thing. Is at the bottom of the deck. I'll just read the keywords and mythological background, and I will also fix. Oh my gosh, this is what my vision looks like right now after that bottle of wine. Kidding. There we go. Okay. This is mismatch, mistake, failure, accident, flaw, sadness, depression, disappointment, contradiction, incompatibility, incompetence, weakness, and unsustainability. The Myrmecolian is sometimes also known as the ant lion, although it is of absolutely no relation to the real life insect of the same name. The real life insect is a vicious predator of the bug world, preying on ants by ambushing them in small funnel shaped pits. The mythological creature, in contrast, is a pitiful wretch that is most unsuccessful when it comes to the simple task of eating. The creature's lion head seeks meat for sustenance, yet its ant stomach can only digest grains. Furthermore, the lion head devours large portions at a time, yet the ant's stomach is too small to handle such gorging. The Myrmecolian is thus fated to die a very early death. Little has been written about the Myrmecolian, as it does not feature in any prominent tales, Instead, it is only known from early medieval bestiaries in which it is said to be the product of the unlikely mating of a lion and an ant. Like, how does that even happen? Such a pairing would be quite a mistake, and in fact, the literary origin of the Myrmecolian is also believed to be an error. In the book of Job, there is a reference to a lion using an uncommon word for the animal that I can't pronounce. In the Septuagint translation of the Old Testament, that word is mistakenly translated as Myrmecolian or antlion. Early medieval Early medieval scholars took the Bible to be literal truth, and therefore they thought the Myrmecolian to be a real animal. This is what happened last time, and that like the bottom of the deck was related to the top of the deck in very much of the same way. Like the bottom of the deck was a more antagonistic, like mythical creature was a monster. The top of the deck was a hero or an aid to heroes. Both of them were also mounts. But anyway, meaning that both of them are like a vehicle through which certain things can be accomplished. But again, anyway, it mentioned that Pegasus aided Bellerophon in slaying the Chimera, and this is definitely a chimeric creature. As you can see, the ant and the lion sort of like merged together. The creature itself looks miserable. There's something that's very obviously, like very plainly biting off more than one can chew. But it feels like between the Three of Wands and the Three of Cups, both of these cards in this deck are related to prophecy. And the Three of Cups, each priestess with the semblance are, well, you see the triple goddess, you see the crescent, waxing, and full moons. There's the full moon at the top, crescent moon right there on both sides, one waxing, one waning. They each receive their own prophecy. In the Three of Wands, they come together and they all gaze into the fire of prophecy. But it's almost like one of those, like, it's almost like the easiest way to remedy a problem is to never create it in the first place. The easiest fix is for it to never be broken. I feel like this Myrmecolian is very much so like if one falls into ego and tends towards a more narcissistic ego. I won't say narcissism, but a more narcissistic ego. Because it's almost like in that case, it becomes less about the thing that one originally set out to do, and it becomes more about the recognition that they receive from others. Maybe it can be an energy of like overcommitting, of promising things that one can't do. And again, maybe it tends one towards fulfilling everything through less than savory ways. And once that is done, it's like the granting of Pegasus will be lost. The gift of Pegasus will be reclaimed. There's something that's very intentional, very focused, very purpose driven in Pegasus that I feel like is definitely possible in a lot of horse energy because you ride the horse to get from point A to point B if you're a horse rider, or you ride it in a circle if you're a jockey, I guess. But there's like a destination in mind. But it almost seems like that can, in some ways, contradict with the energy of freedom because with freedom, you can go anywhere you want to go. There is, again, though, however, a recognition of a divine bestowal here. And it's almost like so the divine giveth, so the divine can taketh away. It's also interesting that, again, like there's the carnivore of the lion mixed with the herbivore of the ant. And then there's this masculine energy here on one side, but a feminine energy here on the other side. And these are complementary cards in this deck, especially the three masculines with their singular vision, the three feminines with each their own unique vision, four visions all together, six different individuals. And then there's the one with very, very clear vision between the Hermit and the Ace of Swords over here. I don't think it's posted yet, but we are doing the suits in reverse on Tranquil Leaves. We recorded it yesterday. Again, I'm pretty sure it hasn't posted yet because I didn't get the notification. But some of this came out in like the Seven of Cups in reverse and some of the other cards in reverse, where it can be an energy of like um when we forget the reason why we set out in the first place, or how it's so easy to forget why we do what we've been doing. And then you make it all some way, and you're like, yeah, it hasn't posted yet. Um, I'm just pulling cards from this deck and then clarifying it with this deck. And then whatever comes out, comes out. Oh, Steph, hey, sorry, I didn't notice you. I think this could also be an energy that it's like if your intuition and discernment is telling you something, like follow that thing and don't get lost in the details of like how it's going to happen or where this is going to come from or where that's going to come from, because just as the divine provided aid in the outset of this journey, well, not the outset, because you were already like moving in a certain direction that would have caused the divine to send you this Pegasus energy. You're going to be supported, you're going to continue to be supported. When you like start to fall into that, like how and when and where, that's when we can tend towards this. That's when like our eyes become bigger than our stomach. That's when we start to nourish ourselves in ways to support the thing in ways that might not be beneficial. Like the lion is eating meat, but it has the stomach of an ant that can only digest grains. And then it's like, as we are out, and again, like nothing is necessarily like off path, but as we're out worrying about the things that aren't for us to worry about, as we're out trying to sort of accomplish or to ease the transition of certain things, it's like we're can sort of like activate our own gifts or get together with other people. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? When it's like all of that comes from like deep within, deep inside the self with that hermit energy. That's where the clarity is, right? And know that everything else will be provided. Just as the Pegasus was, so will other things be. Also, the Pegasus mentioned like people around you, allies, both seen and unseen, both likely and unlikely. No! Is she going to get to come at another time? I believe your grandson was down there last time, right? Last year. All right, I'm gonna do one more, and then I'm gonna go to bed because I need to fix my sleep schedule. You don't know? No, I'm so sorry to hear that. Hopefully she gets to. Hopefully everything gets worked out in a way um, that she'll get to come back. and see ya. I feel like a card almost flipped over, but I don't think it did. Yeah, it did actually. It's the angel. Temperance. Temperance in this deck is the mutable signs Gemini, Mercury, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. Also, we see that light radiating out in all directions. In the Ace of Swords, it only radiated out upwards. So there is this like beacon like energy. There's this energy that attracts and draws in. Two of Swords at the bottom of the deck. There's an energy that attracts and draws in beyond like minded. No! What? So between like last night and today, yeah, again, hopefully it works out and you get to spend time with her. The Two of Swords for me is often often a card of deferring to like a divine intelligence. It's when we in our own logical reasoning minds can't necessarily come to a conclusion or solution, but the all-seeing, omnipotent, ever connected and ever present divine can. It's almost like the divine has eyes on the parade from the sky, and we have eyes on the parade from either being in it or from watching it one float after another. Again, it's that energy of allies, both seen and unseen, both likely and unlikely, that can come to our aid at any time. And it's like it's being worked out, it's being taken care of again. So we don't necessarily have to rack our brain through the details of how is this going to happen or how is that going to happen, as long as you continue along that path that has already been deemed as very worthy by the bestowal of this Pegasus energy. You'll be taken care of. The path will be smooth. You'll find a way. Just keep doing what you're intuitively and divinely led and guided to do. Whenever we start trying to figure stuff out, and whenever we start trying to make ends meet, that's when we can kind of sort of run into trouble. That's when you can start to get into that energy of like robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then taking from Paul what you just paid him to pay Sally. All right. Second pair, 5. No! 4. 1. I'll always do one after one. Okay, there we go. Again, I'm so sorry to hear it. I know you just were visiting family over there. Sasquatch. I saw this card when I first opened this deck, like Sasquatch. Bottom of the deck is not. I'm not taking 3 cards. Oh, 2 cards. Darn it. Bottom of the deck is the Griffin and the Rainbow Snake. There is almost like this sun and earth energy. I would say the moon, but it looks like it has land and oceans. The sun and the earth, which is interesting because where's the moon? Brace yourselves. There's going to be another 10 minutes of me reading the book. Sasquatch. Open to Rainbow Snake. Sasquatch. I'm going to read the keywords, the mythological background, and the card meaning. And then for the 2 at the bottom of the deck, I'll just read the keywords and the mythological meaning. I'll wait to get the SKT. Sasquatch, awareness, introspection, introversion, listening, watching, hiding, blending in. I'm going to timestamp this actually at 35 minutes because there are two different ones 3500. And I will finish typing that after, hopefully. Awareness, introspection, introversion, listening, watching, hiding, blending in, nature connection, primitivism, self reliance, simple life, future shyness, and aloofness. Excuse me. Sasquatch is a contemporary part of North American folklore, believed by many to be a real being. There are thousands of sightings by hikers and campers, as well as footprints, reports of the creature's chilling cry, and even a few photographs and purported hair samples. The most famous sighting was by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin in 1967. They caught the creature on film, a still from which has become the most famous Sasquatch photo ever taken. Many people believe the video to be a hoax, although the footage has never been replicated with satisfaction. Some believe that the video shows a female Sasquatch, who they have dubbed Patty after Roger Patterson. I didn't know that. Sasquatch is also known as Bigfoot and by many other names and is nearly identical to the Himalayan Yeti. It is thought to represent a race of giant ape like humanoids, possibly a missing link or an offshoot of human evolution. Sasquatches are believed to be highly intelligent creatures. Acting as the eyes of the forest, they are said to watch people without themselves being seen. Campers and hikers occasionally report fleeting glimpses of the creature and find trails of its footprints that lead for miles into nowhere. Some say that Sasquatch can turn invisible, or even that they are not solid like ghosts. Some accounts have caught the attention of scientists, yet the Sasquatch always ultimately eludes the scrutinizing snare of science and civilization. Something in between human and ape. Sasquatch links people to their primordial origins. He is a part of the subconscious, a part of us that desires a simpler life. Sasquatch is the yearning to escape to the great outdoors, to return to the time of cleaner skies and greener vegetation. He does not care for electronic devices or other modern technology, as these are distractions that separate us from nature. He feels at home in the wilderness, away from city areas. He is the reason why modern people enjoy visiting parks and looking at trees and mountains, and even why many people become attached to animals. Sasquatch knows what most people have forgotten. We came from nature, and our roots have not disappeared. Living alone in the wilderness, Sasquatch has all the time in the world to meditate and reflect. He does not speak, but he observes. He may have disdain for the destructive effects of the industrial world, but he is fully aware of what it is, for the silent one sees the most. Sasquatch brings with him the lesson of watching and listening. There is something to be said for not saying anything at all. When people are always busy talking to each other on their phones, within their social bubbles, dependent on the internet, they tend to overlook the bigger picture that surrounds them. Sasquatch is not only aware of his surroundings, he is also highly self aware. In retreating from society, he is able to look within. This is introspection. Drawing the Sasquatch card can potentially be an indicator that you need to stop and look within yourself. Are you truly aware of what you are doing, of how your behavior affects others, of what you are not doing and what you might be missing? If the staring Sasquatch knows more about you than you do, and he probably does, then there could be a problem that needs your attention. Take some time out to figure out what it is. A person who embodies Sasquatch is introspective and introverted, but perhaps misunderstood. He enjoys peace and quiet and plenty of time to hear his own thoughts. He takes pride in being self reliant and not enslaved by material technology. The Sasquatch person is also a nature lover, perhaps an environmentalist. He does not understand the mindset that the natural world is only as important as its monetary value. He is appalled by modern industrial practices that harm the planet. He is critical of the culture that breeds these norms, and he fears for the future of the earth and humankind. Ran in front of the car last year. Oh, snap. Oh, that's always tough. Especially when, like you said, when they're that young and they don't really understand. And then, they think of like, it's unfair. Why can't I? Like, Rainbow Snake. Keywords: creation, creativity, dreaming, inspiration, conception, art, bringing into being, synthesis, changing the environment, sculpting, magic, storytelling, collective unconscious. The rainbow snake is perhaps the oldest mythical creature in the world. Rock art depicting this creature in Australia dates back 6,000 years. Its age should not be surprising, for it is said that the rainbow snake created the world. In the beginning, the gigantic serpent came down from the heavens and slithered across the land. It shaped all the hills and topography, and its body carved out the channels that later filled with water. It gave culture to the first humans before they chased it into the sea where it currently resides. The rainbow snake is directly connected to the dream time, the magical time and place of the origin of the world, which is accessed while dreaming. If a rainbow is imagined as a gigantic serpent encircling the earth, then it comes as little surprise that the same creature appears independently in a completely different part of the world. In addition to Australia, the rainbow snake also comes from West African myth. There, its name is Da or Don. This sacred being connects heaven and earth. It feeds on iron and supports the earth on its coils. It is often represented as a pair of serpents, male and female, called Idawedo and Oshumare. The rainbow snake is also revered in religions of the African diaspora, diaspora in the Caribbean, Brazil, and elsewhere. In this regard, it is truly a being that encircles the world. So it's like we get Ouroboros energy, but it's not an Ouroboros that bites its own tail, which is also, so yeah, that's Earth in the background. And then the son of the griffin. Keywords: dominance, courage, confidence, pride, willpower, triumph, self esteem, self grandeur, possessiveness, arrogance, brazenness, boastfulness, and entitlement. Excuse me. The griffin is perhaps the oldest mythical creature in Western civilization, first appearing in Mesopotamia and Egypt over 5,000 years ago. Later, the griffin was mentioned by Greek travelers, and finally, it became adopted by Christian Europe in medieval times. Although interpretations varied over time and space, it ultimately became a symbol of heroes, an emblem of strength and courage. Griffins became popular heraldic icons seen on coats of arms. They were even depicted on churches, as their dual eagle lion components were seen as symbolizing the heavenly and corporeal aspects of the divine. Rather than being associated with any one prominent legend, the griffin was known from bestiaries. It was reputed to exist in various faraway places, such as Scythia, Ethiopia, and especially India. In the 14th century, Sir John Mandeville wrote that griffins inhabit a land called Baccaria. He claimed that a griffin is as strong as 8 lions and 100 eagles. Its talons are said to be so large that people use them as drinking horns, and the quills of its wing feathers are used to make bows. Much earlier, Philostratus wrote of the griffins in India, which he said are worshipped as being sacred to the sun. He characterized them as being more land bound than adept at flight, but that they dig up gold and jewels and use these materials to build their nests. It became widely understood that griffins are guardians of treasure, not griffins being dragons. I almost picked up that deck again. I gotta go to the restroom. I'm holding it. There isn't. So this is interesting that we have like the oldest mythical creature on one side, and then we have the Ouroboros here and the Nocturne. Who was this? I accidentally pulled this up. The Giver, the Nocturne, Ouroboros. Look at it. I'll put them back. Bottom of the deck is the Archangel of Mysteries, King of Pentacles with the Golden Shield, Queen of no, the Demon, the Devil, and then the Golden Shield, which is the Queen of Wands under that at the bottom of the deck. Two of Pentacles, Six of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, the Devil, Capricorn. Also with a snake or a serpent tail. So we get the oldest mystical being, we get the oldest Western mystical being, and then we get this missing link between sort of primates and people. There's this energy here that's very like those who are connected to that time in between, or those who remember, those who are descendants of that time in between, like the ancient and modern world. I actually want to clarify the rainbow snake and griffin. Oh, ooh, thank you for not falling on the ground first. Contender in reverse. And then the Sasquatch. Contender in reverse makes it feel like there is no competition. I'm going to go the Shining Winds. Knight of Swords at the bottom. A Swirling Gale. Full projection from me. Full projection from the me who loves technology, indoor plumbing, centralized air and heating, internet, TVs, video games. It's like with the Sasquatch, there's such this energy of like, modern technology, modern conveniences. Screens are dividing people. We have forgotten that we come from nature. We have lost our way. But then you get this like ancient mythical energy 5,000, 6,000 years ago, comes out clarified by the Contender, Five of Wands in reverse, almost as this recognition that, like, of course, humanity has evolved and changed. You don't expect a child to be a child forever. The two cards that came out are the Holy See and the Archangel of Glory. Angel of Art and Grace, Master of the Arcanes, clarifying the Sasquatch. I feel like I need one more. The Knight of Swords is at the bottom. It's like, again, this is me projecting. As I was reading that, I was like, let me set Patrick aside because Patrick loves those things. But Patrick has a view of those things as assisting communication, just like what's going on right now. Well, like in the chat, right? And more specifically, what happened in like 2020. In 2020, there was this narrative of like, and for extroverts, I'm sure it was difficult, it was hard. And like virtual communication is not a real substitute for like in-person communication. But there's this narrative that like we're all more separated than we've ever been, and there's this huge wedge that's trying to be driven in between us to make us feel alone and isolated. But at the same time, Zoom came onto the scene. It was free. People were getting together in the beginning of lockdowns, like communities were sort of being created, even though they were isolated. It's like in this day and age, it is the gift of the internet. It is the gift of modern advances in modern technology that we can sustain communication, that we can sustain closeness across vast differences, that we can experience so many different places, cultures, civilizations as fully as we can. because it provides us that access. We can look at it in a way, and again, it's not necessarily a substitute for in-person communication and in-person time, but we don't have to look at it in this antagonistic way where it's like this is the reason why things are like falling apart. Well, on the internet, if people are still communicating with each other, they're still communicating with each other, right? It's like there may be some like awkwardness at first, but if you get people who've been talking to each other on the internet for a long time in the same room, it'll pick up in real life. In real life, we just don't have as much access to as many things that aren't immediate to our environment as we do on the internet. So then you get these situations where people feel so like lonely, isolated, left out, like they're the only person in the world that is going through what they're going through or that feels what they feel. But through the beauty of the internet and the connection that it can provide, they know that they're not the only one, that you're not alone, you're not crazy, that your people are out there. So rather than spending an entire life and falling into into that hole, the internet, modern technology, modern advances provide that bridge of connection. It's not all bad. Contender in reverse. I think sometimes, in order to make a point, we as people feel like we have to invalidate another point, even if we over exaggerate or even if we lie. And that was a thing for a hot minute. It's like people just straight up lying to make a point. And it's like your point can be valid without lying to invalidate the other point. Like if your point was strong enough and solid enough, and if you believed it with enough conviction, why would you have to lie to invalidate something else? Like, does the strength of your point not stand on its own merit? Does the truth and resonance of it not provide enough bolstering for it to stand without falsely tearing down something else? I mean, and the Hierophant is here. There is this demonization of other cultures and other belief systems that was important to the rise of Christianity and related sort of religions, while in some ways taking on their practices, like adopting their holidays, like how Christmas and like Yule. And it's like everybody knows that Jesus wasn't born like on Christmas, but for some reason, Christmas is like Jesus's birthday to compete with Yule. And then all of the beneficial and loving deities from other cultures that were demonized because there's only one God. And again, it's like your conviction, your belief, the power of God should stand on its own without needing to, in some ways, falsely represent others. Right. And like you don't have to serve them. You don't even have to too much acknowledge them or whatever. But to go the complete like other way on that, and it's not just Christianity. But it's like it creates this environment in which we almost unnecessarily overburden ourselves. The Empress, who is you? Oh, this is a lot of cards. The Empress, the Empress, the Sharpshooter, and the New World Order. Both the Empress and the Sharpshooter are in the New World Order are threes. But it's almost like this us speeding ourselves towards this doomsday apocalypse, end of times, much quicker than we necessarily need because of the way that we look at and interact with the world. Because of what Hierophant feeds. It's like in its light, the Hierophant inspires faith and belief and a peace that is found within the divine. But in its shadow, it creates so many monsters and so many things to fear that end up being empowered almost as a result of it. And then over here, it's like there is no competition, there is no conflict between these sort of like ancients because it's capable of recognition. And sometimes it's even capable of a recognition, again, without a demonization or without a delegitimization or without falsely presenting another. It's very much so that like many paths type of energy. I feel like this archangel of glory under the holy sea, it's coming across more as the king of wands, more as us, like, or more as an individual that sort of takes on the mantle of this holy sea. I was reading another entry in this book as I was like flipping through the book, and it mentioned crusades. And every time it mentioned crusade, I kind of like cringed a little bit because, it was religiously motivated mass murder. And it's like, where in all of the love that is preached and taught in so many belief systems does so much hatred and so much intolerance for one another arise? It's almost like it's not in the source material, it's in the person that reads it. There's this like zealotry that can come to be almost unnecessarily because there is this, again, the five of wands, the contender conflict is in reverse. It doesn't need be. You say that 1 plus 1 is 2. I say that ichi plus ichi is ni. She says that un plus un is deux. Un, deux, trois. 1 plus 1 is 2, but we speak different languages. We have different approaches. We're coming from different sides. We're coming from different angles, but ultimately it's all the same. Or it's similar enough that that conflict need not be. Didn't necessarily think that Sasquatch would come out with a sense of self-righteousness. And again, that could be me projecting, girl, because I'm like, I don't feel like we have to neglect modern comfort, and forsake evolution and progress for connection for anything. Because we're not meant to be children for all of our lives. We're meant to grow and expand and explore and become wizened. Cool. Final cards. I'm actually going to get the final card from the SKT first. I mean, I guess ultimately at the end of the day, like, do what you believe is right. Right? If you do what you believe is right, then Four of Wands, the Demiurge, and the Archangel Commander. Venus and Aries, Angel of Storms and Battles. You see the archer there? The archer and the cleric or whoever. Bottom of the deck is Apocalypse. There we see the entwined serpents. Was that Was that Rainbow Snake that talked about the two snakes entwined, male and female? Well, there they are at the bottom of the deck, but with like bird heads. Um, I feel like this is just, it's an energy of like, make it so. Maybe it's also the power of the mind, because the Archangel Commander sits in the space of the King of Swords, and because the Four of Wands demiurge is so entwined with our experience. What our minds conceive and so deeply believe will be our reality. Right? But with Apocalypse at the bottom of the deck, the Alpha and the Omega, I feel like there's this slight energy that's like, again, it originally came out with those two as like a make it so, but it's also this energy of like what is required for it to be. So, yes, like, may it be, but also there's the birthing and rebirthing, the doing and the undoing. I'm gonna give this like 2 shuffles because I really gotta go to the bathroom. The seal has been broken. We get the Baromets, which was at the cut when I shuffled the deck. Bottom of the deck is the Caladrius. And there we see again in the corner 2 snakes, the Caduceus with the stork. Such innocent energy. Google it. Thank you, Steph and Holly, for being here. I hope you have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope, as always, that you're using your own intuition, discernment, and logical abilities to follow the path that your guides have for you. And I hope you do it in truth. And I hope you in openness to discovery and rediscovery. And I will see you next time.